The entire group fixed their eyes on him, waiting for more details. Han and the archer girl remained thoughtful, unsure if the strategy would truly work. The boy with glasses voiced his doubt, insisting the plan could only succeed if executed perfectly. At that moment, the system delivered another notification to Seo Jun. It revealed that the mission assigned to Fatty had been completed, and with it came a reward of 30,000 won. Surprised, Seo Jun realized for the first time that each completed mission yielded payment. He reread the message for confirmation, and it was true. A new understanding struck him. Money meant he could issue more missions to his citizens, allowing them to level up. In other words, the more wealth he accumulated, the more power he could ultimately command. Closing his eyes, he considered this long-term advantage, though he resolved not to rely on it too heavily just yet. The system then informed him that Jun's trust level had reached 50 points, unlocking a new status, loyalty. With the threshold surpassed, Fatty transitioned from a mere resident into a vassal. The system displayed his updated stats level 9, trust at 51, loyalty at 62, but with no awakened skills and no shared XP or currency. After analyzing the details carefully, Seo Jun chose to register Fatty as his first vassal. Immediately, a faint blue aura surrounded Jun, who began to feel a rush of changes within his body, sweat breaking out across his skin. The system confirmed the first vassal registration as successful, unlocking a new ability for Seo Jun, Summon Vassal, which allowed him to summon his vassal within his home. The skill carried a 2-hour cooldown. The system updated Jun's stats once more. He had jumped to level 20 and earned the title of First Servant. Alongside this, he awakened his first skill, Gorilla Strength, a Tier C passive ability that granted him immense physical power. Moreover, because of the First Servant title, all experience and gold Jun earned through hunting would now be shared with Seo Jun. Finally, the system revealed that Seo Jun could also summon his vassal using the Ultimate Eyes skill, provided the target was within a 5-meter radius of his home. Noticing a plus symbol beside Jun's level, Seo Jun tapped it and discovered an option to increase his vassal's level at the staggering cost of 1 million won. His eyes widened in shock. "That's absurdly expensive for a single skill," he muttered. His troubled expression drew attention from the woman at the table, who asked what was wrong. Seo Jun quickly brushed it aside, claiming it was nothing, before turning back to Jun. "How are you feeling?" he asked. All eyes shifted to Jun, whose veins pulsed visibly beneath his skin. "My strength, it's overflowing," he said with awe. Then, glancing at Seo Jun, he asked, "Was this your doing?" Seo Jun gave a firm nod of confirmation. Looking down at his hands, Jun remarked that it felt as though his body had become 10 years younger. With a proud smile, Seo Jun handed Fatty a bow, suggesting he join the rescue mission team. Fatty looked bewildered at the gesture, but Seo Jun explained that it was a sign of trust vassals earned double the rewards of regular citizens. In a commanding tone, Seo Jun instructed Fatty to defeat as many monsters as possible. Fatty nodded in agreement, prompting Seo Jun to smile once more, expressing his confidence in him. Outside the house, on the first floor, the rescue team began searching for survivors. A boy carrying a baseball bat questioned whether it was necessary to check the floor, but Han reminded him that it was Seo Jun's direct order. Their first mission was to locate every survivor in the building and lead them safely to the 30th floor. The crucial part of their task was to lure out a large number of goblins while rescuing as many survivors as possible. The boy with the bat acknowledged the plan, and the group pressed forward. Han raised his voice, urging the team to stay alert, warning them that goblins could appear at any moment and from any direction. Despite their vigilance, they had yet to encounter either survivors or goblins. As they continued, Han suddenly noticed something unusual. To their horror, several lifeless bodies lay sprawled across the ground, victims of the goblins. The sight filled the team with grief and fury, intensifying their hatred for the creatures. But there was no time to stop. With grim determination, they pushed on toward the second floor. The second floor was catastrophic. More bodies littered the ground, shocking the team as they made their way to the third. When they reached the next level, however, everything appeared unnervingly calm. The team leader knocked on doors, calling out in search of survivors. The others followed his example, knocking and shouting in hopes of a response. After several attempts yielded no results, the group lowered their heads, burdened by disappointment and sorrow. Still, the boy with the baseball bat refused to give up. He encouraged them to keep moving and head for the fourth floor. There, they resumed knocking on doors, announcing themselves as the rescue team. Suddenly, one door creaked open, revealing a man with a weary expression. "Are you really part of the rescue team?" he asked, his voice weak. He admitted that he was parched and begged for water. Han immediately pulled out a bottle and handed it to him. Still skeptical, the man asked again if they truly were from the rescue team. Han reassured him, explaining that as a resident of the building, he was helping lead all survivors to a safe location. The man seemed surprised by this. Closing the door for a moment, he reopened it shortly after, revealing 2 more people inside. Introducing himself as Hong Yang-soo, he declared that he would rely on them. Han introduced himself in return, expressing his hope for good cooperation. He then presented the girls on the team and instructed them to escort Hong Yang-soo and his family to the 30th floor before returning to continue the mission. Hesitant, Hong Yang-soo questioned the safety of the 30th floor, reluctant to leave. But his son admitted he had been waiting for a rescue, adding that there might even be a helicopter. One of the girls clarified there was no helicopter, but assured them that hot food and a proper bath awaited. Hearing this, Hong Yang-soo's son grew excited at the thought of a bath, even in the middle of an apocalypse. The girl chuckled and confirmed it would be a warm one. His daughter eagerly turned to him, pleading for him to stop hesitating and follow the team. Reluctantly, Hong Yang-soo gave in to his children's wishes. Shortly after, the system notified Seo-jun that the number of citizens had increased to 40. Along with this, their XP and gold rose to 90%. Later, it was shown that the mission had been a success. Several survivors were rescued, with the elderly and children taken to Fatty's house, where they were warmly welcomed. The younger survivors remained in the hallways. Han proudly confirmed that they now had a total of 40 people, with no one missing from the search. Seo-jun thanked everyone for their hard work before activating his skill, Absolute Eye. His eyes darkened to black as he carefully observed every movement among the citizens. He saw them carrying chairs, handling cables along the stairs, hauling ropes, and struggling to move a heavy object up the steps. When he ended the skill, his eyes returned to normal. With a smile, he turned to Han and said it was time to begin Phase 2 of the goblin hunting operation. In the hallway, Han gathered the group. Calling for focus, he began outlining the next stage of the plan. Everyone listened attentively as he explained that their first objective was to lure out the goblins hiding in the basement, beginning with the first underground level, B1. The team would split into 2 groups, working together to draw out and eliminate the goblins there before advancing to B2 to do the same. A boy wearing glasses raised his hand with a concern. He asked what they would do if the goblins appeared in greater numbers than expected, and whether fallen bodies on the floor might obstruct their escape if the creatures launched a counterattack. Han and the archer exchanged confident glances. They reassured him that they were more than prepared this time, since they now had plenty of arrows. The boy with glasses gave a nod, trusting in their assurance. Before the discussion could continue, a strange noise caught their attention. Everyone turned toward the sound to see 3 goblins rushing forward, ready to strike. The archer reacted instantly, drawing her bow and loosing 2 swift shots. Both arrows struck true, piercing the skulls of 2 goblins. The third was quickly dispatched by the man with the bat, who surged forward and crushed its head with a single brutal swing. The 3 bodies collapsed lifelessly. The boy with glasses frowned at the man with the bat, reminding him that he had previously claimed he would need a bow to fight goblins. The man gave a wry smile and admitted he had been wrong. Meanwhile, the archer gestured toward the fallen goblins, noting with curiosity that their bodies were already vanishing. The newcomer asked if this was another one of Seo Jun's abilities. Han dismissed the thought and declared the floor cleared, ordering the group to proceed to B1. Still unsettled, the newcomer remarked that he had expected Seo Jun to already have a solution for dealing with the bodies. At that moment, the system alerted them that the citizens' trust in Seo Jun was increasing. The perspective shifted to Seo Jun himself, calmly seated as he opened a bottle. A sequence of system windows appeared before him. He found the moment oddly satisfying, remarking to himself that it hadn't been intentional, but he was still keeping watch over everyone. Another notification appeared. Moon's trust had reached 50, unlocking loyalty. With loyalty surpassing 30, the conditions for registration had been met. Seo Jun was surprised by how quickly this had been achieved, but considered it a good sign. The faster progress came, the stronger their position would be. Sitting quietly, he reviewed Moon's stats, trust at 55, loyalty at an astounding 88, alongside other notable attributes. Though startled at first by the high loyalty, he accepted it with calm pragmatism. With an ironic smile, he pressed the button on the system window, completing the retention registration. Back on B1, the group was locked in combat with waves of goblins. In the midst of the battle, the newcomer suddenly began to radiate a blue light, reminiscent of what Fatty had displayed earlier. Clutching his bow, Moon was stunned as lightning crackled around him. The other members froze in disbelief, struggling to comprehend what they were witnessing. Even the goblins faltered, disoriented by the blinding brilliance pouring from Moon. In the darkness, his eyes glowed red. The goblins screeched, their vision overwhelmed by the radiant light, leaving them helpless. Han seized the moment, shouting that he didn't understand what was happening, but it was an opportunity they couldn't afford to waste. Immediately, part of the group pulled back to create distance, while others stayed in formation, launching arrows from afar. Both archers fired with deadly precision, aiming exclusively for the goblins' heads. The archer, her fury evident, unleashed a rapid maneuver, cutting down several more goblins in quick succession. Seeing the brutal scene unfold before them, the goblins erupted in fury and charged forward with renewed aggression. No matter how many had already been slain, their numbers only seemed to swell. As the group sprinted through the corridor, they quickly realized just how relentless their enemies truly were. The archer shouted, urging everyone to retreat toward the emergency stairwell. Meanwhile, the man wielding the baseball bat speculated that all the goblins from the B2 floor must have converged on their position. Reaching the stairwell, the group rushed upward in panic, none daring to glance behind. To buy them time, Han braced himself against the door, straining to hold it shut. A goblin forced its hand through the gap, mocking Han with a cruel taunt about holding it alone. At once, the boy with glasses and the man with a bat pressed against the door to help. But even together, the goblins' sheer numbers were overwhelming, and the door began to give way. Just when it seemed hopeless, a voice behind them promised aid. It was Fatty, activating the gorilla strength ability granted to him earlier by Xiaojun. Channeling that immense power, he stepped forward and, with astonishing might, forced the door shut against the horde. Han asked if he could manage, but Fatty urged them to climb, insisting that they hurry. Though his strength was superhuman, his face was drenched in sweat, every muscle straining as he bore the crushing weight of the assault. Determined, he declared that it was his responsibility, a duty he had to fulfill. Only once Han called out that everyone was safe did Fatty finally release the door and sprint after them. But misfortune struck. Halfway up the staircase, Fatty stumbled and fell hard. The goblins, quick to seize the opportunity, surged toward him. From the floor, Fatty shouted for the others to leave him behind and continue their escape. Han froze, torn with hesitation, when suddenly the boy with the baseball bat charged back down without a second thought. With a single devastating swing, he smashed the lead goblin aside and reached out, calling to June and urging him to hurry. Still scrambling on the ground, Fatty tried to crawl closer, but before he could reach safety, a goblin lunged and clutched his leg. In the blink of an eye, Fatty vanished, leaving behind nothing but empty space. His rescuer stood frozen, stunned into silence, unable to grasp what had just happened. But there was no time to dwell on it. The horde still advanced without pause. Another goblin leapt through the air toward him, but he swung his bat in a sharp arc, crushing it mid-flight. The others covered him from above with their bows, shouting desperately for Daku the boy with the bat to move faster. Han and the archer screamed in panic, urging him to hurry as the horde pressed ever closer. Clutching his weapon tightly, Daku ran with every ounce of strength he had, racing up the stairwell without daring to look back. Meanwhile, outside under the full moon, a monstrous bear-like beast prowled. Its glowing red eyes burned with hunger as it seized a goblin and devoured it alive, the creature's anguished screams piercing the night. Each crunch of bone and flesh radiated a sinister aura, and yet its hunger only grew. Blood dripped from its fangs as it growled, declaring its intent once again. From behind, unearthly screams echoed through the night, an unnatural sound that shattered the stillness. Turning, the beast fixed its gaze on the massive building ahead, the very one whose top floor still glowed with light. Its bloodlust swelled as it snarled, vowing to devour everyone inside. At that same moment, Fatty reappeared, tumbling out of a swirling purple portal. He hadn't died at all. Seo Jun had intervened, pulling him from danger with perfect timing. Fatty landed clumsily in what might have passed as a hero's pose, relief washing over him even as confusion clouded his mind. Seo Jun stood nearby, calm and composed, remarking with a slight smile, "That was close." Rubbing his eyes in disbelief, Fatty finally realized it wasn't an illusion. Seo Jun extended his hand to help him up, explaining that he had kept watch using his absolute eye ability, just in case something went wrong. Fortunately, his vassal summoning power had worked flawlessly, ensuring Fatty's survival. As Fatty tried to stand, a sudden sharp pain shot through his leg. Only then did he realize the goblin had managed to cut him during their brief struggle. The attack had happened so quickly that he hadn't even noticed until now. Seojun immediately asked if he was all right, but Fatty brushed off the concern, insisting that the wound would heal quicker than expected. Seojun, however, wasn't convinced. He noticed how few medical supplies he had left in his inventory and muttered that he needed to register some medicine to the system soon. He urged Fatty not to push himself and to wait a moment. Though slightly confused, Fatty agreed. Inside, Seojun searched through his belongings until he found a first aid kit. Holding it, he was struck with memories of his childhood, when his mother had often told him how vital medicine could be in moments like these. For a brief moment, he was lost in thought. Opening the kit, he realized it contained far more than he expected. Sitting on the floor, he examined the contents and muttered that his inventory only had 40 slots left. Yet there was still so much he needed to register. After a pause, an idea came to him. Instead of registering each medicine individually, he decided to register the entire kit at once. The system initiated the registration process, scanning the kit. A notification soon appeared, standard first aid kit value, 77,331. Without hesitation, Seojun accepted. Returning to the corridor, he brought the kit to Fatty, who couldn't help but notice Seojun's genuine concern despite barely knowing him. Kneeling down, Seojun asked to examine the goblin-inflicted wound. Fatty rolled up his pant leg, revealing a cut near his calf. With a pair of tweezers and a cotton ball, Seojun warned that he was about to disinfect the wound. He carefully dabbed the cotton onto the cut, working meticulously. Fatty winced at the sting but reassured him that he could endure it. A system notification appeared. Cho Hyung-jun's trust and loyalty levels toward Seojun have increased. After cleaning the wound, Fatty quietly thanked him for the care. While packing the kit back up, Seojun voiced his concern for the others. Standing, he instructed Fatty to rest and explained that he had something important to take care of. Fatty nodded, agreeing to follow his leader's orders. Closing his eyes, Xiaojun focused and activated his ultimate eyes ability. His gaze darkened as he scanned the building, granting him sight of everything happening inside. Meanwhile, at the emergency stairwell, Daku, better known as Toji, the baseball bat wielder, was sprinting desperately from the relentless goblins. Arrows flew past him with uncanny precision as the archer provided cover, dropping goblins with perfect headshots. Han and the bespectacled fighter tried to hold off the horde, but they shouted in frustration that they could barely handle one goblin at a time, urging Toji to run faster. Toji pushed himself to his limits, yet the goblins chased with unyielding persistence. From behind an improvised barricade, the support team loosed arrows that whizzed dangerously close to him, but every shot struck true, thinning the pack at his heels. At last, Toji reached the bottom of the staircase and vaulted over the barricade. But in his moment of relief, two goblins lunged from behind, catching him off guard. Instinctively, the rookie Moon charged forward with a fierce shout, determined to protect his comrade. With one devastating blow from his bow at close range, he dispatched both goblins in an instant. Moon's expression hardened, his eyes glowing blue with determination. Without hesitation, he leapt back into the stairwell, plunging headlong into the swarm. Han stood frozen, stunned by the rookie's ferocity. Moon struck with rapid, precise blows, cutting down goblins one after another. His skill left Han and Toji staring in disbelief. Others watching from a distance muttered in awe, wondering aloud if Go Moon had always been this capable, calling his actions insane. From afar, Xiaojun observed calmly, remarking that the rookie was performing exceptionally well. The system interface appeared, displaying Moon's status, full name, Moon Bengingo. Title, Second Vassal. Confidence, 55. Loyalty, 88. Ability, Teleportation, consuming mental energy to move within line of sight. Energy cost increases with distance and number of companions. With a sly smile and darkened eyes, Xiaojun murmured to himself that registering Moon as a vassal had been a brilliant decision. Back at the stairwell, goblins were being mercilessly cut down by Moon. Every strike of his weapon landed with lethal precision, shattering their skulls one after another. Han quickly turned to Jana, the bespectacled man, and asked if the extension cord was ready. Jana, gripping it firmly, confirmed that it was. Han then checked on the water tank, and both the archer and the baseball bat wielder signaled that everything was prepared. Moon, realizing it was time to retreat, sprinted toward the barricade. Han shouted for him to hurry, and with a swift leap, Moon vaulted safely behind it. For a moment, the goblins believed the group had simply run away. But their confidence was shattered when a massive water tank appeared above the barricade and tipped over, releasing a torrent of water that drenched the stairwell and the goblins below. The creatures were confused at first, thinking it was only a desperate delay tactic, but Han shouted that the time had come, and Gianna flipped the switch. Electricity surged through the soaked stairwell, running along the wires they had laid in advance. The current ripped through the goblins, electrocuting them instantly. Xiaojun's system window lit up, notifying him that he had successfully hunted numerous goblins, including several as high as level 6 and 7. A second notification confirmed he had gained a huge amount of XP, over 300,000 deposited directly into his account. His skill level increased, and a new ability unlocked. As Xiaojun activated his ultimate eyes ability, a strange pressure overwhelmed him. A sharp pain coursed through his body, forcing him to writhe in agony. Suddenly, a wave of purple energy erupted from him, spreading rapidly across the building, through the stairwell, and even into the parking lot where more goblins were pursuing his friends. The energy functioned like a massive scan. His ability screen displayed hostile entities detected, commencing elimination. The goblins began convulsing, their bodies twisting unnaturally as they screamed. Then, in an instant, their forms ruptured and vanished without a trace. Another system alert appeared, confirming the elimination of additional goblins, again including several at higher levels. Yet not all of them had been destroyed. Some goblins were still chasing up the emergency stairwell. One of them suddenly froze, sensing danger. A chill ran down its spine as it turned its head. Behind it loomed an enormous shadow. Out of the darkness emerged a massive bear, its fangs glistening and its eyes glowing red. With a deafening roar, it lunged, sinking its teeth into the goblin's neck before it could even scream. The others turned at the sound of their comrade's death, only to see the bear savagely tearing into more of their kind. The beast ripped through them with its colossal claws and powerful jaws, striking down one, then another, then two more. But despite its ferocity, the goblins soon realized they had the advantage of numbers. They swarmed it, leaping onto its back, biting and clawing. The bear shook violently, throwing some off, but the relentless attackers clung to it. One goblin clawed near its eye, while another sank its teeth deep into its back. Surrounded, the bear swung with desperate strength, but it was overwhelmed. The goblins went for its face, aiming to blind it until suddenly, all of their heads exploded in unison, obliterated by Xiaojun's domain expansion. The bear staggered, confused but alive. A system notification appeared before its eyes, citizenship granted. Its massive frame began to shrink. The beast twisted unnaturally, its bones cracking as its body contorted. Slowly, its monstrous form peeled away, revealing the figure hidden within. At last, standing in place of the bear was a breathtaking woman, her brown hair flowing and her eyes sharp yet warm. Weakened from the brutal battle, she collapsed in the parking lot, surrounded by the lifeless bodies of goblins. Meanwhile, Xiaojun writhed in pain as he activated his ultimate eyes, scanning the area like a living surveillance system. His gaze fell upon the woman's unconscious body. He wondered who she was until the system revealed her identity. Yanju, level 33, with 9 trust points and an awakened rank ability known as Werebear. This power allowed her to transform into a beast, dramatically enhancing her physical strength and granting powerful regenerative abilities. Xiaojun's eyes widened in surprise. And a rank ability, this woman was no ordinary survivor. The system continued, announcing that both Dongdan and Haiyan had reached 50 trust points, unlocking their loyalty. It also revealed that Daku's loyalty had reached 30, making him eligible to become a vassal. Without hesitation, Xiaojun registered him. Daku, now level 25 and officially the third vassal, possessed 52 trust points and 31 ability points. Upon awakening, he had gained a B-tier ability called Iron Knight, which granted him the power to summon full steel armor and a massive halberd. Deep in thought, Xiaojun analyzed the system. He realized that a vassal's level seemed to correspond to the rank of their awakened ability. Fatty, for instance, had awakened the strength of the gorilla, a C-rank ability, placing him at level 20. Daku's B-rank Iron Knight ability made him level 25. While Moon's rank teleportation had placed him at level 30. The pattern was undeniable. The rank of their abilities dictated their level. Yet one question lingered in his mind. Was the ability granted purely at random, like a roll of the dice? Moon had received an rank power despite only modest loyalty. If loyalty truly influenced it, then Fatty, whose loyalty was higher, should have awakened something stronger than a mere C rank. The mystery deepened when he considered DXU, who possessed a B-tier ability despite having only 31 loyalty points. Xiaojun realized that understanding the conditions behind ability awakening was crucial. With the number of vassals capped at just 10, choosing individuals with the highest potential was vital. He also wondered if registering someone who had already awakened made any difference. The system clarified, awakened individuals were free to move between staircases, hallways, and elevators. Determined, Xiaojun approached the elevator, his ultimate eyes still active, his gaze darkening with focus. Meanwhile, Yanju remained unconscious on the parking lot floor, her body surrounded by goblin corpses. Xiaojun summoned Fatty and instructed him to retrieve the woman from the second level and bring her safely back to their floor. Elsewhere, the team dismantled the electric trap they had set up. DXU, relieved after the goblin's sudden defeat, asked his companions why the creatures had exploded so abruptly. The bespectacled man suggested it was someone's doing. Han, sweating nervously, realized the truth such overwhelming power could only belong to one person, Seo Jun. He remembered what Fatty had said the first time they met, that Jun was an enigma. He recalled the hot baths that had amazed the girls, the meals they enjoyed thanks to Seo Jun's abilities. The more Han reflected, the more unsettling the truth became. Jun's power was beyond anything he could comprehend. As Han coiled wires around his arm, he glanced at Moon, remembering how the once introverted man had completely changed after meeting Jun. The terrifying reality was clear. To be saved by Seo Jun was to be chosen by him. Back in the parking lot, the elevator reached the ground floor. Fatty rushed toward Yanju, lifted her carefully, and carried her toward the 30th floor, exactly as Jun had instructed. Through the eyes of his ability, Seo Jun observed everything like a silent overseer. Meanwhile, Han's thoughts grew heavier. In this world, survival seemed to depend entirely on whether Seo Jun deemed you worthy. A memory flickered into view. A small toy car rolled across a park as a child laughed joyfully, calling for his mother to watch. The woman from the parking lot, Yanju, smiled warmly at him, encouraging him with genuine affection. But as the boy stood and waved at his mother, a shadow appeared behind him. The mother's genuine smile twisted into a mask of horror. She froze, paralyzed by fear, as 3 vile goblins surrounded her son. The boy, innocent and unaware, simply waved at her with a smile. She tried to act, summoning all the strength she could muster, but her body refused to move fast enough. In a cruel instant, the goblins struck. Helpless, she could only watch as they attacked her child, the image of his final moments seared into her memory forever. All that remained behind was the small toy car he had been playing with. Trapped in this nightmare, Yanju jolted awake, her chest heaving from the weight of the memory. Pain throbbed in her head as she turned and saw Seo Jun watching her. He called her name gently, extending his hand with a calm introduction, saying it was a pleasure to meet her. Ignoring his politeness, Yeonju immediately asked if he was the one responsible. Seo Jun faltered, caught off guard, uncertain of what she meant. She quickly clarified he knew exactly what she was talking about. The mysterious force that had made the goblins' heads explode. His hand trembled before he clenched it tightly, steadying himself. Then, with quiet resolve, he admitted it. Yes, he was the one. Yanju's mind raced. Someone with such an indifferent expression had destroyed an entire horde in an instant. The thought was terrifying, but it also filled her with a fragile hope. If he possessed such immense power, then perhaps. She trembled as her emotions spiraled, finally breaking down into desperate pleading. Through her tears, she begged him to save her son. Just one day, she cried, just one day to bring him back. Her voice cracked under the weight of unbearable grief as she looked at Seo Jun with eyes drenched in sorrow. It was the face of a mother who had lost everything. I miss him so much, she wept, her words breaking into sobs. Seo Jun clenched his teeth, anger rising in him as he realized her child had been stolen by those wretched goblins. She shook uncontrollably, unable to even speak coherently through her cries. Frozen in place, he wondered if he was truly powerless to help. Then he made a decision. He opened the system and attempted to create a mission, slay 1,000 goblins. No time limit, no penalty for failure. The reward her child's resurrection. But the system rejected it. His heart sank as the notification appeared. Resurrection was beyond his current ability. The system explained that such an act required immense power and resources. Another notification followed. There weren't enough funds to cover the cost of the resurrection mission's reward. Stunned, Seo Jun stared at the message, his jaw dropping. Was it truly possible? Could resurrection actually be achieved if he gathered enough money? Hope flared within him. Overwhelmed, he shouted at the system, demanding confirmation. Could he really bring someone back to life if the funds were secured? When he returned to himself, Yeonju was still weeping in despair. He realized he didn't even know what the cost might be. But the fact that the possibility existed ignited a new determination in him. "Yeonju," he called softly. She looked up, wiping her tear-streaked face. With a firm expression, he told her that he might be able to help. He explained that there could be a way to bring her son back. Relief washed over her features, though tears continued to stream down her face. Even a glimmer of hope was enough to steady her breaking heart. "Is it real?" she asked, clutching the bedsheet with trembling hands. "Or is this just another cruel joke?" "I would never joke about something like this," he replied, his tone solemn. "It's possible, but not yet. It will take time." She nodded, accepting his words with quiet resolve. "Tell me what I have to do," she whispered. "I'll do anything." Seo-jun considered their situation. Han's group already had Moon, Toji, and Fatty, each awakened and growing stronger. With Yeonju, a level 33 fighter, their team would be capable of handling nearly any monster. He decided the best path forward was to transform all 7 of his minions. His serious expression softened into a smile. "Come," he said, helping her to her feet. "There are people I want you to meet." Not long after, Han stepped forward and introduced himself. Yeonju, still holding her pain inside but trying to stay composed, returned the greeting with quiet politeness. She asks if he was the one throwing baseballs to hunt goblins, startling Han that she knows about it. Yeonju then turns to the archer, saying she recognizes her as well, since she had been shooting arrows at goblins. The archer is equally surprised and nervously asks how Yeonju knows her. With a growl, Yeonju mimics claws and bares sharp teeth, asking if they truly don't remember her, reminding them they had met before. Toji, the archer, and Han all look confused at her growling, while cute bear images flash in the background. To clear the confusion, Yeonju begins to transform. Fur gradually spreads across her body as she focuses, her bear form becoming more apparent. A snout and thick brown fur emerge, shocking the archer, who points at her in disbelief, asking if this is really happening. Standing before them now is a massive bear. The archer, still pointing, exclaims that this was the beast they saw in the alley earlier. Yeonju laughs awkwardly, correcting her it's not a beast, but a bear, leaving the archer stunned. She explains that she had helped them deal with the goblins several times before, though they hadn't realized it. Han, staring at the giant bear before him, remarks that their meeting wasn't a coincidence. The bear woman confirms, saying anyone who opposes goblins is her ally. At that moment, Seo-jun arrives and interrupts, relieved that they are already acquainted. With a serious expression, he announces he has something important to share. After careful consideration, he declares they will execute the plan to rescue Moon's grandmother tomorrow. The group listens closely as he explains that goblin numbers have drastically decreased, making it the perfect chance to act. He adds that Fatty will sit out due to injuries and jokes that he borrowed Fatty's room since Fatty had lost his bed to the bear woman. Finally, he announces that Yeonju will join them on the mission. Nervously, she thanks him and says it's a pleasure to meet everyone. Concluding the meeting, Seo-jun tells them to prepare for the morning. Filled with determination, the group agrees without hesitation. Afterward, Seo-jun calls Toji and Moon aside for a private conversation in the hallway, leaving them uneasy.